right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Lift Lab podcast. I think this is our third one in, and today I've got Daniel with me and Jeff.
Come on.
And yeah, we'll be talking about, what are we going to be talking about? Just talking about lifting each other up, life, goals, health, fitness, mental health, all of it. So we're probably just going to chew it up. This is my first time meeting Jeff. He's a friend of Daniel's. By the way, I'm going to cut in here. Excuse my nasally voice because I'm fighting a cold. So sorry if I sound a little bit nasally. But anyway, so yeah, we've got some really. I'm excited about this one. It's going to be good. I'm feeling the energy. 2/3 go.
Come on. Right. Come on.
Hey, so what's going on, Callum and Jeff?
What up, big dog?
You guys are my two brothers. I've been talking with you guys for quite a bit last few months, and I'm excited about this one, man. Like Jeff, obviously author, speaker, and I think that you've changed your platform into a lot of motivation. You do a lot of coaching. Callum, obviously 3-time Mr. Universe, one of the world's top fitness influencers, and putting us all together in this room, I just felt like, hey, you know what? Let's see what happens. You know what I mean? Like, good conversations are here. I'd like to just start out. I mean, Jeff, could you just share a little bit about you? Obviously, I see you wearing a 2-3 Go shirt. What's
yes,
that
sir.
all about, bro?
Yes, sir, man. One of the biggest things that I love when we do what we do is understanding that our life is all about movement. And so this shirt right here is so sick because it's a saying that I live by, that 2/3 of God is go. Yep. So if you take his name, G-O-D, and you get 2/3 of that, you got the word go. And so the goal for us is to be able to be in a position where we can get our mindsets ready, get our hearts ready, get everything around us that we have, that we need to go and do what we need to do, to go and be who God has called us to be, to go and conquer whatever it is we need to conquer. So whether that's in fitness, whether that's in coaching and motivational speaking, whether it's in merch, whether it's in taking on the world in the tech space and building other companies, whatever it is, 2/3 of God is go. So if you ain't going, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, I like that. It's like a mental space preparedness.
Yeah.
You're preparing yourself for what you got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's huge.
That's awesome. I like that message.
And one of the things that I liked, so obviously this isn't like a Christian podcast, but we're believers and we're on this podcast. So I'm like, hey, you know what? Like, podcast is the place that you should be able to speak freely and talk about what you want. And one of the things that I thought was cool, Jeff, when you came up with this 2/3 go, I was like, the one is done already in faith. So we don't need to think about the one.
Yeah.
It's just, we got to do 2 and 3, because they say 1, 2, 3. It's like, hey, we don't need the one. One's done.
Yeah.
We got the faith. It's already going to be done. And we just move in 2 and 3. And here's the great thing about Callum too. Callum operates in this way. Like, the way I've seen Callum operate throughout his entire career, he doesn't like overthink things and overcomplicate things. I mean, Cal, you're like the...
Sometimes I do. I'm just being honest, but thank you. Yeah,
but
try not to.
The great thing,
yeah,
you guys, like, both, I think you guys have some interesting stories, and I would love for like the stories to come out. So, hey, Jeff, could you just share? So, you obviously speak, you do coaching, and you're an author. Can you talk maybe a little bit about your books and kind of where a little bit about your story? Because I think you and Callum have some. I mean, you guys were already talking before the podcast started.
Curious question is, what inspired you into doing what you do now? So, I don't know much about you either. Except what Daniel and you've told me, that you coaching all things. But also, I'm curious to know what got you into that. Like, what you were like, hey, I'm gonna use my voice.
I knew my mind was jacked up when I was in a prison cell facing 16 years to life.
Holy smokes!
Yeah. Yep. So I was. Yep. I knew. Yep. I knew the path that I was going, and my mind was messed up when I was being charged for 6 armed robberies and attempted murder.
Whoa!
And so, yeah, bruh. So,
you've got that's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Behind that reason, that's a full stack.
Yeah, and I think when you're there, I think that the concept and the idea is recognizing, okay, all the things that I've done in my life have led me here. And then you start thinking, what choices did I make? Where did my mind go wrong? What happened? And I think it all culminated for me from a lack of identity. I think when you struggle with identity and struggle with who you are, and it came a lot from my background. We talked a little bit, but growing up in Huntington Beach, I was the only we were the only black family in our neighborhood. I grew up skateboarding and surfing.
Yeah.
I tell everybody, yes, I can swim. You know what I'm saying? A brother can swim. You know what I'm saying? Don't get it twisted. I can swim. You know what I'm saying? I'm a great swimmer. But
I'm not allowed to laugh
those
too
are
hard
the-
at that one, bro.
yeah,
You know
no,
what I mean?
absolutely, bro.
Like-
Hey, if you ain't laughing at that, where's your sense of humor? But it's true, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, lack
I
of
used to-
diversity out there,
all of that, bro.
pressure and society.
So when I
So
was
you've
there,
already pushed in the deep end. You're already in deep water from a younger age.
from the gate,
From the
man.
get-go,
Yeah, from the
yeah.
gate. Just trying to figure out why I feel a little bit different, right? I was skateboarder and got sponsored, and then I was, all of these different things. And so when we were down in Huntington Beach in the Orange County area, then we moved inland to like Diamond Bar, Chino Hills area.
Yeah.
And that's when I got exposed to a lot of the kids coming in from Pomona, the nearby city. So all the black kids started
So
coming in.
what do you think was more, when I say influential, or what was crazier, Huntington or growing up and living in Huntington, or
Oh, the IE, bro. The Inland Empire. So the
That's
IE is
more-
the
that's
Inland
more
Empire.
hectic?
Yeah, it changed everything for me because it was the moment that I recognized that I was in a world where I was too black to be white and I was too white to quote unquote be black. And so I was stuck in this middle place of trying to figure out then who am I?
so that's what identity?
That's where it is. So I wanted to fit in.
Confusion and stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to fit in, man. And so that fitting in led me to hang out with people that had no purpose for my life, but because they gave me validation, affirmation, they told me who I was, it led me to running with gangs, being a gang member, selling drugs, robbing people, being getaway drivers. And so here I was, 18 years old. I was a football player headed to college to go play football, and I lost my scholarships, lost everything because I wanted validation more than I understood who I was. So that kind of got me in this place where I was in my prison cell and I was left with myself of thinking, how do I get out of this?
Shows how crucial having good mentors or father figures or role models younger age is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I would imagine if you had the right mentors and the right people guiding you or protecting you through those vulnerable and influential years, perhaps you would have, could have been ding ace in this, aced your field. I think, I definitely see that because I had growing up I had different mentors, and the thing was I had these people that I looked up to and respected, and they taught me things, and I wanted to prove them that, like, as a student.
100%.
So they kept me accountable, and that kept me out of trouble because I was so focused on the gym, on raising birds, or landscaping or work and school. So I didn't want to disappoint these people, so they kept me on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, and I think the crazy thing is I had my father in my life, I had my mother in my life. They're incredible. They're Christians. They're pastors. But I think what happens is if you don't change how you think about life and how you see yourself, you can have the greatest mentors around you and it doesn't matter because you haven't changed to adopt the mindset of saying, yo, this is wisdom. Yo, they're giving me some truth. Let me not do this. Right. So my dad talked to us about consequence. My dad talked to us about being leaders. My dad was in Amway. So we were all the motivational tapes and all of those different things. We're a part of that. But I just think, man, so what caused that whole change for me was that I was at a place of utter despair. And I realized in my prison cell, facing 16 years to life, I had to make a change.
Yeah, huge, massive.
Yeah, so
that makes okay.
So that being in that environment kind of shifted it for me, and then it just kind of prompted my mindset to say, look, let me get every book that I can read, everything that I can use to empower myself, even though I'm here and they're telling me I'm never going to get out, that I'm going to empower myself. And so I started building myself inside. The first book I read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah, my dad gave me that book too.
Yeah, bro. Yep. So I read that book when I was in there, and then I just started going and talking to all the other inmates. And I started like building them up. And then for me, I'm a man of faith. So I got in my word.
So
and built that up.
How long were you incarcerated for? How long
So I was sentenced to 16 years to life. I fought my case for 8 months.
Yeah.
And then when I went to Chino State Prison, I was on a level 4 prison yard. My cellie was 21 years old with 7 life sentences.
Who?
My cellie, my cellmate, 21 years old with 7 life sentences.
Oh, wow.
So because of my crime, the level was so high, they put me on a level 4 yard. And you're either lifers or you're doing long term. The crazy thing, here's the trip. Here's what happened. Yeah. And this is what changes everything for me.
Okay.
Is 11 and a half months into my sentence, they rack my doors. They hit the cell and they're like, Osborne, roll it up. And I said, well, where am I going? They're like, you're going back up to court. And so I'm like, why am I going to court? They said, you got a court date. So I go back up to court and I'm there. The biggest race riots happened in LA County during that time. So I got a scar on my neck where the gang members try to cut my neck open with a razor blade. All this stuff is happening as I'm trying to figure this out. Never been arrested in my life. You know, I'm in this lifestyle. So I go to court and the judge says, upon reviewing your letter, and I look at him like, what letter?
Yeah.
And he goes, you got a letter on your behalf from the assistant warden of Chino State Prison. Cal, Daniel, I never saw the man, never met him, never shook his hand.
And he wrote you a letter.
He wrote me a letter
On
that
behalf of
said, this is a good young man who hit a bump in the road, let him go.
Well, how does he know you?
Bro, to this day, if you were the warden, if you watching this from Chino State Prison in 2006, and you wrote a letter for this chocolate brother, Jeffrey Thomas Osborne, I need to see you because I have no idea. So he took my prison number and turned it into what's called a 90-day op number, which means a 90-day observation.
Yeah.
So he took my sentence,
Right.
commuted it to a 90-day observation, which simply stated if I didn't get in trouble for 90 days while I was in prison,
Yeah.
they were going to release me.
Do they do this for everyone, or you were just a lucky
Bro,
dip?
I know they do it now, but it wasn't like,
So this is a fluke of a fluke.
bro, like it's a blessing of a
blessing,
blessing, big dog.
This
Like, yo,
is-
it's all God. I
this
can't,
is too
it
sweet.
wasn't on me.
I think
You feel me?
I think
Yeah.
an angel was watching
Bro,
and it's like, hey, this is
100.
not for you. I've got different plans for you, and I'm gonna
Move it
pull
around.
some make some miracles happen and
Dog.
get your life back. And now look at you. You've
Bro.
completely switched the script.
And I think that's so true. And I mean, you can attest to this. You've gone through hardships, man, and had to overcome things, and even you, Daniel. But I feel like when you're in that position and you recognize that I have an opportunity to be bigger than my circumstance, I feel personally that gives you the opportunity to be able to grow in such a way that you can grow yourself out of a situation. You can grow yourself out of a mindset. You can grow yourself out of toxic habits. And so I just decided to just grow, man. And I got my chance at life. And so when I got out, I made a promise to myself that I will, as much as it remains with me, I will make sure that another person doesn't have to go through life losing their identity, not knowing it, so that it could cause them to be in a prison. And they may not be in a physical prison, but it may be a prison of their mind, a prison of people pleasing, a prison of all of those things, bro.
Yeah,
So that's where I'm at, dog. I'm dedicating my life to
That's
loving on
beautiful.
people and
That's
changing lives.
Beautiful. That's amazing.
Well, man,
I love it.
I'm glad that like at least you made the right choices and the decisions to kind of get out of that situation. I read this book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a point in the book, it said, dogs are dogs, birds are birds, like, rats are rats, you know what I'm saying? And they're animals, so they're gonna do what they're gonna do. They're conditioned by their hunger to go and get food, right? And
Right.
they're conditioned to procreate. Like they're very animalistic. But it was saying how human beings are probably the only species on the entire planet that can literally leave their body, look at themselves, and say, change, or go do this,
Yeah.
and they could change, right? Because
Yeah.
a
What, do
dog
you call
can't
that
go,
consciousness?
hey,
Is that like that's
don't go
a
hunt.
form of consciousness, like a higher level
Right,
of
right.
consciousness. Humans, I don't think animals don't have that consciousness, do they?
No, they can't.
yeah, and like C.T. Fletcher, one thing he says, I remember when I started working with him, he'd be like, I command you to grow. You don't tell me what to do.
Yeah,
I tell you
yeah,
what to
yeah,
do.
yeah.
You're an inanimate object. Like I'm
the
my
boss.
consciousness
You listen to me.
is going to command this body what to do. And you both work out too. You know what I'm saying? It's not easy. So you have to make that conscious decision to say, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to change my body. I'm going to read this book and I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to go and show up to this particular interview and I'm going to change my life.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
without that conscious shift, you will constantly always be stuck into this cell. In your case, that's what it was, Jeff, right? Or you're gonna get stuck into depression and just sitting on your bed.
Yeah, yeah,
or you're
yeah.
gonna be stuck. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if maybe you both could talk about that a little bit. Like, Jeff, you talked about people pleasing, but like, how do you get unstuck? Because both of you guys, in my opinion, are probably like not only just physically fit, but mentally fit, which I do think kind of indirectly pours into spiritually fit. But how do you get unstuck? And maybe I wanted to double click on that whole people pleasing side, because I think Callum, there's some stuff there too. It was like, yo, like, why am I saying yes to everything? Yes turns into overwhelmed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
True.
But that's the question I was going to ask you, Cal. Like when you're working out, and you got all these other ways to be, right? You're in the top 1% of people in the world who's looking this way, being able to build this way.
Right.
When you feel those things, what do you do? What is that mindset that you go into that gets you into that space?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that as Daniel was saying. I was like, yeah, where's my head at when I'm in the gym, and what am I thinking? I think I have the answer to that, which is, it's the cliche saying, but you have to believe it to achieve it.
Yeah.
Like, like Daniel's saying, CT Fletcher's commanding his muscles to grow. If you go in there with a mindset saying, let's say on extreme level, like I'm going to go in there, I don't want to grow, but I'm just going to train. And I'm going to go for these motions, but I don't care if I'm going to train. Like I'm just doing it because I'm told to go here. Then I don't think you're going to get anywhere near as good results as if you went into the gym thinking, I want to be Mr. Universe and I want to grow this. And I'm going to focus 100% of my attention and all my thinking into connecting with that muscle that I'm trying to grow and stimulate. And I think it's the mental stimulate. We can physically stimulate our bodies and our minds, but it's that mental stimulation that is going to increase the physical stimulation in the training. So it gets down, and there's a science to it, and there's a belief, and there's so many different levels to it.
Yeah.
But I think that for me going in, it's like, okay, if I'm going in there with doubts, like then I'm not gonna. Then of course that's as far as I go.
Right.
To those doubts. But if I'm going in there believing that I'm gonna, grow, get a good pump, or grow an extra inch of my bicep, or put on 5 pounds, or win Mr. Universe, if I'm believing that while I'm in there doing that, then there's really no chance of failure until there's every chance of you achieving that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going to separate that, and also pain. There's a physical pain barrier, which, people aren't willing to go past this pain barrier. Like when I feel the pain, that to me stimulates growth and work.
That's so good.
So some people feel that pain, they get scared, like, oh, it's getting hurt, it's uncomfortable, I don't like this, I'm going to stop there. No, it's like when it starts hurting and it's like pulling and tearing your bias, and you're like, shit, I could stop now because it hurts, but it hurts so good because I know it's going to grow. So let's go,
Yeah.
Hurts so good.
It hurts so
It
good.
hurts
I
so
like
good.
that. Hey, so let me ask you, with that mindset, because I'm watching, I'm a visual guy. So as you talking about pumping, I'm like, okay. And second of all, real quick before I get going, Danny, it's not fair to even put me in the same fitness category as Cal right now. You know what I'm saying? Your boy, I don't know. I appreciate the flattering, dog, but Jesus.
Hey, bro, I see the shoulders. I see the biceps.
Hey, look.
I see the...
And I'm glad y'all gave me an extra medium shirt so I look bigger. You know what I'm saying?
So Mitch said when he walked in, he goes, hey, Cal, this could be your bodyguard.
Yo,
So,
hey, I
he
just
looks
get my,
big.
hey, I get my 15-year-old son's t-shirt so it makes me look bigger. You know what I'm saying? That's how I do. But yo, here's what I want to know, man, because anytime you get around, and part of that growth and that mind growth of getting outside of things, for me when I was in prison and even outside of life, I got people who were further than me or doing things that I desired to do, and you want to pick their brain, their mindset, right?
You want to see
when you start commanding that to grow that mind connection, how has that mindset translated into your everyday life outside of the gym? Like, does it transfer for you? Do you recognize where that transfers?
No, I that's a good question. Because with that level of mindset concentration, you are almost guaranteed results, right? And I'm trying to, and let's say I'm applying that, like when I have that level of concentration in the real world, like, let's say at school or something, if I was at school and I'm trying to study for something, and that's the thing, if I wasn't that interested in it, I wouldn't apply that mental stimulate, that level of intensity in thinking about what I'm doing. So I feel like the result's not going to show. But if there's something that, like, okay, I don't know, that I know needs to get done, whether it would be a task around the house or a job or something that I had to do for someone, or something that I, like a time pressing concern, taxes or something, something that I need to get done, and it needs to get done, and I'm a terrible procrastinator at the best of times. Like I'll procrastinate on things sometimes, and I hate that, and I'm still trying to work on it. But I have noticed, like, okay, this needs to get done, and I'm going to block out. It's literally, I have to block out everything else to focus on that one thing to make sure it gets done. But I do get distracted easily, as well. We all do, I'm sure. But sometimes, yeah, it's then that's when your priorities are going to come in there as well. Yeah.
That's huge.
So Jeff, you said mind-muscle connection, and then Callum went and said how having that vision and that goal kind of helps persevere and get through and achieve these goals, right? And that's what makes him get focused and lose out on the distractions. I almost feel like there's also a synonymous thing to mind-muscle connection to mind-life connection. So like, as much as the mind changes the muscle, right? The mind can also change your life. So the mind is almost like the
100%.
key.
Where the mind
Right?
goes,
It's like
the body
key
follows.
to unlock. Wait, say it again, Cal.
Where the mind goes, the body follows.
There you go. And like, I think you both are testaments to both that quote right there. Where the mind goes, the body goes. Because Jeff, obviously, you were in jail and you had that opportunity, and you were able to flip that situation when it was like you were at the bottom. I almost feel like that too. Like people that don't go to the bottom pits, they don't understand the full grace and like the blessings of getting out of that situation. So like, it's almost like when you do have these lows, like Callum, you too, like you being at the lowest of lows, you almost have a reference point of how low it can get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like
you too.
the-
Yeah. Absolutely.
the people that go to the lowest
you think
lows,
you've been
they
at the
almost-
lowest, and then something else, even like that you didn't know happens,
Yeah.
and then you're like you experience another level of lowness and darkness. Oh, gosh, that's not a fun place to be in. Yeah.
Hey Jeff, on your side, I mean, your first book was called Prison Break, right?
Nah, that's my latest book. My latest book is Prison Break. 7 mistakes to avoid that keep us chained in the prison of people pleasing. And so it's
Wait, say that again.
yeah,
What's it called?
7. It's called Prison Break.
Yeah, Prison Break.
The front. Oh, I should have brought this in my car. The front cover is a picture of my mugshot when I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
And the tagline is Prison Break, 7 mistakes to avoid that keep us chained in the prison of people pleasing.
Yeah. Nice.
And so I start talking about how many of us are hindering our lives and even our minds from what we're able to accomplish because we care so much about what other people think that their words become our identity.
Hey, can you get that? Is it on audio? Audible?
Yeah, bro. And it's on. It's on actual.
It's a book.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think, is it Audible as well?
No, we're actually in the studio recording the Audible.
Let's
so I'll
get
make
it
sure.
Audible.
Yeah,
I'll listen
I got
to
you.
it. Yeah,
I got you, big dog. Oh yeah, trust me. I'll make sure that y'all have it. But and it was that concept of dealing with that mind. I love how you said mind muscle connection because I think a lot of people don't realize that our mind is actually a muscle.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it is. Yeah.
Our mind is a muscle.
Train it.
And so the problem is we'll train all the other areas of our life, but we fail to train our mind.
Mm-hmm.
And
mental muscle.
Bro, it's a mental muscle. And it's the most, our mind is the most powerful asset we own. Period.
Yeah.
Like just let that soak in. Like our mind
most powerful.
is the most powerful asset we have. Everything that ever was created on this earth started off in a
thought.
Come on, boy.
One single thought.
One thought. And thoughts originate from our minds.
Yeah.
And so the reason why I read the way I read is just because I understand that I have to work my mind. I tell a lot of my clients, and when I go speak, I tell people this, that thinking leads to questions. Questions lead to answers. Answers lead to results. So thinking, if I think about something enough, it's going to lead to a question.
Yeah.
Why am I doing that?
Yeah.
Why am I showing up this way? Why am I sabotaging myself when it comes to relationships or business? Or why is it that I feel like I'm not good enough whenever I get to this level? Why can't I see myself how other people see me? Or if you're spiritual, how God sees me? How come I'm always limiting myself when I get to these spaces, or when it comes to taking risk, or when it comes to thinking big, or when it comes to me believing good things about me? So thinking leads to questions.
Yeah.
When you ask the right questions, you get the right answers.
Right.
And sometimes what I've learned as a coach, my job is to ask questions.
Not the what, it's the why.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
It's and when you look at that idea of thinking leading to the question the question will lead to the answer. But most of the times what I found out is we don't want to ask the ugly questions. Why do I keep showing up right now? I was in a prison cell in lockdown when they transferred me to Chino State Prison. I was in solitary confinement. So I was locked down 24 hours a day in pitch black. I had to eat with my hands, nothing. Like they gave me nothing. The only thing I had was a Bible. And so as I was sitting there and I wake up every day, not going outside, cut off from all relationship, cut off from everybody, I had to ask myself the hard, ugly questions. Jeff, what did you do that led you here? And if you get a chance to get out, what are you going to do something different?
Well, yeah.
You
That's
feel-
but that's some like real life, like that's some critical thinking for you to come up with those questions in that position and in that time. Like that's like some people aren't going to ask. You asked yourself the right questions, so that meant that your mentality just to come up with that is a huge win. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the big. I think that's probably like the point right there. You're in the solitary confinement. It's pitch black. You've got a Bible, and then you come to that realization. You know, that's a spark right there. You know,
But
I've also
boy,
I've also learned that a lot of people, we have a tendency to just come up with answers. Because, it's harder to ask hard questions, right?
right. Fill in the gaps.
Like
if
the
you
hard
haven't got
thing
anyone to
about
fill
hard
in-
thing,
You'll fill it in for yourself if you haven't got someone to fill it in for you.
right? And it's like, I think in life, it's easy to just come up with answers. Oh, it's because of this. Oh, it's because of that. I've learned in business, they say like opportunities usually happen when you come across a problem, right? And when you have a problem, it's going to force you to ask the right questions.
right.
And as you guys, there's all these books, right? Like Think and Grow Rich, The Magic of Thinking Big, like all these things about changing your mindset to have larger goals and to think bigger. And like what Callum was saying, or what you were saying, you're like, why am I here in prison? Like you're processing all was it because I was people pleasing?
Yeah.
So now you're doing this major introspection of like, wait, what was I pre-programmed to do that I need
You're
to
going for the
unprogram?
checklist of what got you there.
Well, I
to
answer that, I think there's a phrase that I have. I'm like Dr. Seuss. I like to rhyme with stuff. It just helps me, right? It helps me to do it. I tell my clients, awareness of is the freedom from. Awareness of is the freedom from. The goal for every one of us in our life is to have a high level of awareness of how we're showing up. And to have a high level awareness, it doesn't mean that you got to be this genius. You just got to be sick and tired of your pain and your crap.
Yeah.
Like when you just effed up another
Let's
business
go.
deal,
Yep.
you
Yep.
got to ask yourself, it can't be the other 6 business partners.
Yeah.
What is it about you that you keep attracting bad business partners? If it's a
Right, right.
relationship and you're tired of losing your loved one or missing the opportunity of love, the only common denominator is you.
Come on, that's it.
So
Yeah.
what is it
Yep.
in me that's either pulling these people to me or why I keep doing it? You don't have to be this rocket scientist. You just got to hate your crap bad enough
Yeah.
to say, what the hell is going on?
Kick yourself in the ass.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, if you can dive into that and ask the question, you got to step back and stop looking at when you are no longer looking at yourself as a victim.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
When you no longer are focusing on all the external things around you to be the reason why you react the way you react, and you begin to understand, hold on, I'm reacting to life and I'm not choosing to respond to life.
Right.
Reacting means every person that cusses me out, every person that does me wrong, all the abuse in my life that's happened, we're just reacting to all of life. But when you sit and you say, okay, who am I deciding to be for myself? Who do I want to be in life? What does that look like
Yeah.
for
You
me?
want to be a
Yeah,
dangerous.
how do I want to show up in this
Yeah.
situation? How do I want to show up in these business meetings? And it goes so much deeper. But the first thing of being able to understand the idea of people pleasing is first, and this is, I'm just going to say this because it's just for me.
Yeah.
I had to stop making people God in my life. I had to stop telling myself that they are the only way that I can get what I truly want to have in life. I stopped making them my idol of the ones who can give me joy, who can give me peace, who can give me purpose, who can give me wealth. I began to place different relationships and man in the place where I believe God could be, because he's the one who's going to bless me regardless.
Yeah.
So the moment I shifted from relying upon man to give me joy, to give me happiness, to give me peace, and then I stopped trying to fight for
That's
that.
a pretty big chain to unshackle. That's
Bruh.
a pretty big, it's a pretty big chain to cut.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's people. You can't avoid people, you know.
But
And
you
then-
get to choose what people you want in your life, and that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing,
Yes,
right?
That's it. And you make that choice. And like I said, you can't be showing up just pleasing the people that are not going to help you become a better person, and treating them like you said, like they're God in your life. You know, that's, of course you're going to hit a dead end. That's a short track.
You know,
So,
like with weightlifting, right? You don't see the results overnight,
Right,
right?
Right.
You got to put time into it.
right.
And one of the things my mom used to say to me when I grew up, and I this is like, it's ingrained in the way I think. He's like, be careful of what you see or what you hear, because what you hear become your thoughts. Careful your thoughts, because your thoughts become your words. Careful your words, because your words become your actions. And careful your actions, because your actions become your character. So your character is what the end result is of what you surrounded yourself by. What did you listen to? What did you watch? Like, even for me right now, like, I'm very careful of what I consume on the internet, right? Like, I don't want to listen to everything. Everything's clickbait. I don't want to look at that stuff. Why? And you said it earlier. You start blaming everyone else. You start like looking at everyone else. Oh, that's why I'm like this. No. If it's to be, it's up to me. Right?
Facts. Well,
Where
like,
attention
even-
goes, energy flows. Like, I want to put my attention on 1, 2, and 3. Callum said, I want to put my attention on Mr. Universe, and I'm going to win. That means one of the things I was thinking about when you guys were talking about that too, and in business, they say, hey, do you want to be a 100,000-aire, a 6-figure guy? Do you want to be a millionaire? Or do you want to be a billionaire, right? And they were saying, if you want to be a billionaire and you think on a billionaire level, you got to eliminate a lot of distractions. Like, you don't have time for Netflix. If you're going to be Mr. Universe, you can't have that, you know.
You got to sacrifice. You got to
cheeseburger.
make sacrifices for that goal, and depending on
Right.
what level that goal is, you got to. It will depend. You'll see what kind of sacrifices you end up making. You know, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Me-
and Callum
Go
and
ahead.
Jeff, like both of you guys, I mean, you don't just become an author overnight. You don't become a 3-time Mr. Universe overnight. You had to change maybe first the environment or the things that you're putting in your head. Like, Callum, if you're around a lot of people
My
that were like,
21st birthday, I was in the gym at like 6 a.m. doing squats, throwing up. Didn't even have a birthday party. Didn't have a cake. Nothing. Didn't celebrate it. It was just another day. It was like a week out of Miss Universe, and I remember I was like, all my friends, everyone's had big 21st.
Yeah.
I scratched my birthday off the calendar. I was like, this is 6 days from Mr. Mr. Universe, more important than a birthday party. You know? Yeah.
so it's
You said
almost
you-
like
you-
success or sacrifice is a prerequisite for success. Oh,
Hey.
you
Yeah.
cannot have success
Hey.
without
Say that again.
sacrifice, right?
Say that again?
Sacrifice is a prerequisite for success. You
Yes.
can't have success without sacrifice.
100%.
If you're doing everything you want to do, I'm probably not going to read you in Success Magazine.
No,
Right?
yeah.
Facts.
And I think a big question is if I want to level up in my life, what do I get to die to in order to make this happen?
Yeah.
Right? What
Yeah.
do I get to die to? What mindsets do I get to die to in order for me to become who I need to become? What habits do I get to die to in order for me to get to where I need to become? What type of things do I get to die to in my life that are going to allow me to live in other areas?
Yeah.
And that is always, you can't have an old mindset stepping into a new season and expecting a different result.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so at every new level, at every new goal, it requires us to work our mindset.
And that becomes a battle of the conscious. That becomes a battle of your mind. You end up fighting your ego.
Yeah.
Because your ego is
Yeah.
going to try and come in there and be like, oh no, we're not changing. We're not stopping this. We're not doing that. You're still going to, like, you're going to have those arguments with your own ego, and you probably start shaping it into like, hey, you got to take a sit,
Yeah.
sit down,
can't-
humble yourself,
Yes, sir.
so that you can
can't
become
take-
a better person in this real.
Boy, that's
Ego's
so
probably
good.
going, ooh.
Hey, I wish I had my
can't
phone out
take-
right now taking notes because this is oily, dog. I'm like, yo, this is crazy.
Look, bottom line is and I was talking to Cal about this. I mean, one thing you said was awareness, right? Like we literally, like Cal and I, when we reconnected, we were like, yo, let's just whiteboard out like what happened the last 5 years. Because a lot of times you just roll into the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and all of a sudden
He
you're
did it
so
to me
muddy.
as well.
You look like
Daniel got
Right?
me we got a good whiteboard. He just told me who I was, where I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Planned my life for me.
Yeah.
it's a framework that helps you
He
get
got
to
me
the
too.
like at least break out of what you were at, and then like what you said, I love this quote. You cannot take the old you into new things.
Nah.
It's impossible.
Impossible.
If you're gonna
Yeah.
do new things, you have to evolve. Like a caterpillar needs to be a butterfly to fly.
That's like
Otherwise, the cat.
yeah, sorry,
right?
buddy, but that's why I get like that spiritual zing over. Like that's like the old you has to die to live with Christ.
Yeah.
You gotta shed those old habits, those old sins. You gotta cut that off. You can't return to that if you're living with Jesus in your life. You can't he doesn't you can't be, chewing on both sides of the
Defense.
paddock. Yeah, you gotta cut that off and pick one.
Oh,
Can't have
that's
both.
good. I love how there's a saying, there's a scripture that says you can't put new wine in old wineskins.
Ye-
And the reason why this is huge is this is what I thought was so like brilliant how Jesus would talk or how he would say something is when they were referencing that whenever you would put wine and you would ferment it back then, you would put it in the stomach of an animal, whether it was a camel, whether it was a goat,
Right.
you would put the wine
Yep.
in there and then you would allow it to ferment.
Right.
As it would ferment, it would cause the stomach muscle to expand.
Yeah.
So it would expand, and because it was a new lining of a stomach lining,
Right.
it could expand with the growth of the wine fermenting.
Right.
But the reason why he says you can't put new wine in old wineskin is because once the wineskin has already been stretched, it can't stretch again.
Right.
So when you put the new wine in there, it would ferment, it would bust and cause that new wine to fall on the ground.
Yeah.
And I think it's so brilliant how we think about our minds in that way is that if we keep putting in new mindsets or we're putting in new goals, new vision, growing in your spiritual life, and you're putting it in, but
you
you're
haven't got
holding it in
room
old.
for
Come
that
on,
old
baby.
stuff. You got to make some space.
You got to get a new
You gotta get a
mindset
new mindset so you can absorb
There
those
you go.
new projects.
because if
Because you ain't
not,
got enough space with the old stuff and the new stuff.
and if you put
Yeah, you got to dump
in,
the old shit. It's like
Yeah,
a
and if you
garage sale.
you're right,
Let's get this old crap.
yeah, and if you put new opportunities in
I'm
old
having a
mindsets, you'll
mental
ruin
garage
it.
sale this weekend. All right, guys.
Yeah,
Just to let
yeah,
you
mental
know,
garage
I'm
sale, get
gonna
rid of
drop
that.
some shit out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And I just think that if you put new opportunities, new relationships in old mindsets, you'll ruin it and they'll spill on the ground
yeah,
and you'll miss it.
yeah.
I like that, Callum. It's like old Daniel up for sale, garage sale. Old Callum up for sale. Old Jeff up for sale. Hey, take it at the
Yeah,
garage
shit.
sale.
You
We,
can have it,
we don't
baby.
need it no more.
Don't need it anymore. I'm done.
I'm done with it,
I'll
but yeah,
get the new wide body
I love that.
installation next week. I'm upgrading.
Hey, you guys. So I have a quick question for both of you guys. So, obviously, like Jeff, we've talked. I mean, look, we don't need to talk about this on the pod, but like financially, I think you're doing pretty good now, right? But like you've literally were like Daniel. I was homeless. Like I had no income, and you figured out how to change your life and get to the point where you're at today. Callum, same thing, right? From Anglesey, right? Just from a small town. You both have recipes for success, okay? And I think on this podcast, the Lift Lab, we want to lift people up and also lift people's mindset and lift people's
Yeah.
bodies and
Yeah.
lift just
And
the
it's
whole
nice.
point
We've
of
got
lifting
different
is
recipes. We've all got a different recipe, different upbringing, different raising, different start. But at the end of the day, we've got a product at the end of it. Put them together. It's like bangers and mash.
I'm
whatever.
wondering if both you
Yeah,
guys,
pretty
like
good.
maybe you guys can I always like to collect like these nuggets of wisdom, and from both. I mean, I've talked to both you guys. You guys definitely have like troves and treasure chests of wisdoms or pieces of wisdom that helped you succeed and get to the point, whether physically, mentally, financially, or whatever. Do you think you guys could kind of like lean into that a little bit of like what type of things have worked for you? Like, what are the key, like if you had a keynote and you're like, these are like 1, 2, and 3. I know we talked about having goals and focusing, right? But like, And if you want to talk about that, that'd be cool. But I'm curious, like, if you were to talk to some of the younger listeners, I mean, Callum, you got a pretty big audience. Jeff, you got your audience. If there's an opportunity to speak on them, and you had like Jeff, like, let's say somebody came into you while you were in prison, and they were like, "Hey, here's like the 2 or 3 things in order to be successful from this point." Or Callum, when you were a kid, like, if you could talk to that person back when 16,
Almost like
13-year-old
telling you
Cal.
10
Yeah.
years, like 10 years, 10 years ago, telling your younger self 10 years ago, like, hey, what would you, what can I do to get to where you are or something? Or what would you?
Yeah. So just what are some of the keys, the major keys of Cal and Jeff to success?
All right. I think I'll chime in while I've got some thoughts gathering, but I think some of the major ones that, you know, those major keys that I applied early on in my success was first a huge one is discipline, being disciplined. And I received discipline as a young, all through my childhood and adolescence, very conservative, very, you know, quite a strict upbringing. So and if we didn't follow, if I stepped out of line, I'd be disciplined one way or another. So discipline was a big thing, and I realized that, hey, if I don't perform, if I don't, you know, do these sort of things, there was consequences, you know, as well. So I think that's a huge one, definitely. And then being dedicated, you have to be 100% dedicated to what you do, and by that I mean, like, you got to cut off certain external stimuli that might, you know, come in and distract you. You've got to be dedicated to what you got to do, and determined, you know, to believe, you know, to get that. So yeah, so for me that's a huge one, I think, was just having that. What else? And then also kind of what you said as well. I think that's for a lot of people. I think you know, successful people, that they have to believe it. 100. I mean, it's corny and cliche as it is. It's like, if you don't believe in what you're doing, if you don't believe in the purpose, if your conviction isn't strong enough, then you're gonna fall short. But if you are so convicted in what you do and believe in it, and, you know, and then all that motivation and all those other things are just going to come because you believe in it. You don't have to look for motivation, because it's fuel. That fuel's already injected in. You're already on a course. You know what you got to do. You are getting out of bed every day to make it happen, you know. And I think also probably really important is for me, it was having a goal, you know, having a goal. If you don't have goals, then what are you doing anything for? If you don't have a goal, like, and for me, like, I set the bar pretty high at a younger age. I was aiming for Mr. Universe. You know, I believed that I could do it. I had a realistic belief that I had what it took. So yeah, so I always had, and you know, as you know, as I grew up and met different people and kind of showed me the way and introduced me into competitive bodybuilding. So whenever I'd set up these goalposts of the Mr. Universe, and every year it'd come around at the same time. So I knew what I was doing in each part of the year to get ready for that show. And that helped keep me accountable, and it kind of kept me focused on that and not getting distracted. So yeah,
that's huge.
That's awesome, Cal.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, man. I think for me, when I got out of prison, I had a strike and a felony. I actually had a strike, a felony, and then when they would run my background, 6 armed robberies.
What's that? What's a
strike is
a strike and a felony?
Yeah. So when you go to prison here in America, depending on how bad your crime is, if it's a felony crime, whether that's felony bodily injury, a felony is like the highest crime that you can get.
Yeah.
It comes with a strike.
A strike, yeah.
And a strike is something that goes against you, where here we have a 3-strike law, where if you get 3 strikes,
I'm thinking
Baseball. Think about baseball,
Yeah,
big dog.
I'm thinking about what happens if you get out. What's
3 strikes,
what's
you're in for life. You're never getting out.
Right. So felony and a strike.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that means that if you do 2 more felonious acts,
You're done.
you're done.
Yeah.
Right. And so the goal is to try to not get it. But because my crime was what it was, I had a strike
Yep.
against me and I had a felony account. The problem is that most employers won't hire felons.
Yeah.
So when I got out, I'm like, okay, great. I got another
Yeah.
chance at life. I couldn't even get a job at
But you've got
McDonald's.
another barrier in front of you. You got to.
There you go.
You got an obstacle.
Yeah.
You got to work
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. So now I got a strike and a
huge
felony.
one. Like, come on.
Yeah. Nobody's going to hire me.
Yeah.
I can't scrub toilets. I can't get jobs anywhere. So I'm trying to figure out. My wife, who was my high school sweetheart, she's still my wife to this day. We had our son. I was using T-shirts for diapers. I couldn't afford anything. I was at government assistance. And the only thing I could do was dig through trash cans to provide for my family. And so I'd be in Chino Hills and I made sure that, and here's my lesson. I made sure that whenever I went and dug through trash cans, I would have a suit jacket on and I would have something nice on. The reason why is because I told myself that I refuse to look like what I'm going through.
Oh, that's huge. That's mega. That's
So-
mega, man. That's that mental. That's that not accepting that this is your reality.
100%.
You didn't accept it. This is like, hey, this is the period, but I don't accept it. This isn't me. So I'm gonna remind myself that this is just a passing through. Fuck, that's
Yeah.
huge, man.
So, and that was that
You
mindset.
didn't quit. That's a non-quitter mindset. You didn't quit. You didn't give in. You're like, hey, this is my life now. You're like, hell no.
Yeah. I'm not settling.
I'm just visiting and I'll be
And it
gone.
didn't feel like I was visiting. I just knew that I refused to look like what I was going through because the moment I did that, it means that I accepted that as my future. And so the first thing that I would say if you're building and you're growing is if you're going through a hardship, because I'm gonna talk to somebody who's at the bottom, who's trying to get up. That's what I want to talk to right now because I can relate to that person.
straight away. Yeah.
Is if you're going through something, don't look like what you're going through. Don't wake up and not get dressed, not get a shower, let your body go. You know, you're not taking care of yourself. You're hanging out with people who aren't going where you're going. Stop looking like what you're going through and understand that if you get the proper mindset, you can overcome anything. And so that suit jacket for me was my way of saying, I refuse to settle. I'm going to keep digging through these trash cans. People would look at me. People would say, you're not a man. I'm more of a man than you are. You can't take care of your family. So I'm hearing all of this while I'm there. And so the first thing I would say is don't look like what you're going through. Understand that how I show up could be the difference between me meeting somebody who says, yo, man, you look like a sharp guy right there. Yo, you look like somebody who's got it together. I got this opportunity for you.
Hey, we'll have a chat.
100%.
Yeah.
So don't look like what you're going through. The second thing I would tell you is I never had a plan B. So put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, right. You never had a plan B, so you put all your eggs in one.
If what you're pursuing in life
Yeah.
doesn't mean enough for you to put all your eggs in that one basket,
Yeah.
then what are you doing?
Yeah.
People want to say, man, and I saw this, Tyler Perry talked about this, and I thought it was so dope. He said, when I started off in business, I never sought out to be a billionaire. I never sought out to have one of the largest production studios. Tyler Perry said, I just had one play, and it was Medea. It was this one play. I had this one play. I sunk all my money into this play. It failed over and over and over again. Tyler Perry, the actor, Tyler Perry, the producer.
Right.
I mean, he had this one play and put his whole money into this play. It failed over and over and over again. He said, but I knew that if I had one seed and I planted it in the ground and I watered that seed with my intention and my detail and my intentionality, that one seed would turn into an apple tree. And on an apple tree, you don't just get one apple.
Yeah.
You don't get one apple. You have multiple apples.
Yeah.
And within those multiple apples,
Multiple seeds. And
so now
got
you have an
multiple.
orchard. Come on, big
You
dog.
got an orchard coming up.
You're right. So now
Yeah.
you got an orchard.
Yeah.
And so the reason why I say I didn't have a plan B is I tell people that when you're stepping out in faith, faith is not a bungee jump, it's a free fall. I don't have plan B, plan C, plan D attached to it. It's like, yo, this gotta work. Like I'm placing my eggs in this basket, and I think it comes with understanding
You're either
certain
growing
risk.
wings or you're hitting rock bottom.
Bro,
Yeah.
so when you put yourself in that scenario, I had to be there for my family. I had to learn how to elevate my mind. I had to become an entrepreneur because nobody would hire me. I had to find rooms where I would have rooms because nobody wanted to hear me speak. I was trying to connect with churches and pastors to just share my story. I was like, yo, I got some type of motivation. Nobody wanted to hear me. I sent out 2,000 press kits.
Wow.
And not one pastor wanted to sit down and have coffee with me.
That's a shame.
Which-
That's a real shame. You know, I'd expect more from churches.
But
I'm sorry, but like,
here's the deal.
I'm like, why not give someone a chance?
Well,
Like,
here's
you
the
know,
truth. You got to imagine how many other people, when you're a pastor, you get a lot of people who are kooks, who claim to be changed,
Right.
who claim to do that, right? But they haven't changed. So if you're entrusting your bit, like you wouldn't just bring in somebody, if you never met me from anywhere, and I came to you and I was like, yo, Callum, bro, look, I can take your merch and take it all through the roof. I'm going to help you get $5 million. And you don't even know me.
Yeah.
Are you going to be like, here you go,
I
bro?
probably would. The old me, no,
Hey, well,
the
that's
old
what
me
we-
would, because I
yeah.
was super trusting.
But the
man.
new you.
The new you would ask some questions.
Absolutely.
You know, I'd ask some questions. But
so-
the old me be like, let's go,
Yeah,
buddy.
let's do it. Yeah. Well, and I think
you,
it's the
friend.
same way. But it's the same way with when in that church space, or even when you have a business,
That's what
people
happens
want to
when
know
grow
who
up in
you
a
are.
400 population
Yeah,
town.
you trust everybody.
You trust everyone. You know
Yeah.
everyone. I know your
Yeah,
neighbor.
yeah. But I had to get to a place where I realized that I'm going to soak all of my time and my effort and my energy into becoming the highest version of me. So I
Yeah.
would speak in front of rooms where nobody would show up. I'd set up tables and chairs to hold on these conferences. Nobody would show up. And so I took my friend's daughter's stuffed animals and I put them on the chair and I spoke my whole message
Yeah.
to those stuffed animals.
Rehearsing. To
Yeah,
the
yeah,
dolls and
absolutely,
stuff.
because,
That's how
again-
you master your craft.
Bro.
It's practice, repetition. It's training the mind. You know what?
It's all
And
of
if
that.
you- yeah, talk to but that's how you become better.
Right.
You have to practice it.
And I think that's
Yeah.
where, for me, Daniel, that you'll hear me say that, and Callum, you'll
great.
hear me say that there was no plan B. Like, I'm all in. If I'm going to do something, it's all in. It was interesting. Right before I got here, I was watching on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, you got to see it. Kevin Hart gets the Mark Twain Comedy Award. It's like one of these coveted awards. So it's like a slash
Oh,
roast. Slash
I'll
him
have to
getting
check
it,
it out.
right?
I'll have to
It
check
is
it
the
out.
dope. I watched it literally right before I came because I geek out on stuff like that. Anything that has to deal with motivation, overcoming obstacles, docuseries, to watch people rise, like that's my drug of choice. Like I'm just
nice.
like, yo, put that in front of
That's
me. Like,
awesome.
so
Yeah,
I'm watching it, and he said something at the end. He said, I shouldn't be here. He said, and the thing is, I know some people like, okay, I'm gonna save an egg for this, I'm gonna save an egg for this, but he was the one who said, yo, I put all my eggs in one basket. Kobe Bryant said, I put all my eggs in one basket. And it's going to work. It has to work, which means that I have to work. I have to make sure I'm building my
'Cause if
mindset
it
up.
doesn't work, it's over.
I'm done.
You're
I had a
done,
wife,
mate.
I had a
So
son.
you are
all of
forced
that.
to succeed. You're forcing yourself to succeed.
And if you know
You
you
know
had
what I
all
mean?
these plan Bs and
Yeah,
plan
you haven't
Cs and
got any
backup
safety nets.
plans.
You have to. This is the
Right.
only way that you're going to go forward is this way. And I think that's quite a specific and a unique, people that will adopt or, achieve that mindset. Because not everyone is going to think that way. People
Yeah.
can't because they can't fathom. They're not risk takers, or they have choices.
Yeah.
And some people probably don't have the choice and they have to do it this way, or that's just how they roll. They're thrills and $2 bills, and we'll just chuck it all in one basket and shoot to the top.
But taking
Chuck some
risks,
fertilizer on it.
taking risks doesn't always mean that you're walking on and betting all your money. Going all in and putting your all eggs in one basket means if you're at your job, I'm fully focused on becoming the best that I am at my job.
Yeah.
If it's
You
fitness,
want to go to the top.
yeah, I'm putting it all in for fitness. I'm putting it all in to be an amazing dad or an amazing wife or amazing in my walk. And so I would say the second thing is don't be afraid to commit and go all in.
Yeah.
Go all in because nobody else is going to do it for you. And then the third thing I would say, which lies in right into that, is understanding this. It's extreme ownership of your life. You are where you are. We have what we have because of nobody else but ourselves. Period. You may not control what other people do to you. We've had conversations about that. I've had business partners do shady stuff and costs a lot of money. I've had all of these things that happen, but at the end of the day, I may not be able to have, I may not have been able to control how somebody else acted towards me or the dirt they've done towards me or the trauma that they caused me, but I do have full control over who I decide to become from that moment on. I can't keep blaming my past or blaming my prison choice or my decision that I'm a felon to be able to do that. And if I did allow myself to blame everybody else, I wouldn't be where I am. So I took extreme ownership of my choices. I understood that if anybody's gonna get me out of this, it's gonna be me. I'm gonna step out in faith, put myself around people who are gonna help me elevate, and I'm gonna take that risk to make it happen, but understanding that I am responsible for my life and what happens. So taking extreme ownership for me was a big way that I got out of it, Daniel.
Huge.
Yeah, man. Well,
That's
dude,
huge. That's very motivating too. For I'm feeling lifted up.
Come on, baby. Hey, it's the Lift Lab,
got some
big dog.
wings. I've got some wings.
Now let's go. It's the
Hey, you
Lift
in the
Lab,
Lift
big
Lab,
dog.
Cal.
Let's
Hey,
get
we
it.
all in the Lift Lab. We getting lifted up right here. You know, a couple things that come to mind as you say some of these things is you've heard that saying, burn the ships.
Yeah.
You know, there was like this sailor Cortez, and he was like, I guess when he was coming to the States, and the shipmates, they were like, should we go or should we stay, like on the boats? And Cortez, whether the story is true or not true, the idea is that he burned all the boats, and he's like, there's only one way, and it's go. 2, 3, go. It's like there's no other options. I'm not giving myself even the option to fail. Like I'm so focused and committed on this that all the other elements of distraction are gone. Like I'm not thinking about the boats or swimming back on the boats. I'm fully committed. And I do think that is one of the biggest things that I've seen in my own career and with the successful entrepreneurs and people that I've seen achieve success. They have this amazing ability to focus because they eliminate distractions. You cannot have success without sacrifice.
Beautiful.
And I think that is one of the biggest things that people suffer from is we live in this world with so much input, right? So much things like, you know, I live in Hawaii and we're on an island, but these phones, they've given us so many things to look at, right? Whereas this should be the least distracted place in the world, right? I'm on an island, like Gilligan's Island. Like they didn't have like, you know, airplanes flying around. They didn't have like, you know, sports events going on that you had to watch. You know,
you think about escape and just disconnecting, like, you know, being
right. And you see people here
or
too.
being free. You can look at it two different ways, you know.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you'll go out here and you'll see people save up all this money to come on vacation to do that, Cal, and they're on their phones on the beach.
That's not.
And it's like, man, like, what do you do?
Wild.
But
terrible.
That's
but to your point, Jeff,
Terrible.
that this is what I'm hearing though is like, and Cal, like, you know, and I just want for the listeners that are listening in, this is gold, right? Because if they can take this, and I'm hoping that both you guys hear this, like, if they listen to this episode and they could take one thing from this, I think it is you got to sacrifice to get that focus.
Yeah.
If you want there's a saying, it's not about the time that you put in, it's about the time, it's what you put into the time. It's not the time that you put in, but it's what you put into that time.
Yeah,
and there's a
yeah.
saying like,
Yeah.
you see these guys work out for 2 hours at the gym and they don't get that much results.
You get
But you
someone in
see
there
these
45 minutes an hour. Catch you later. Turn them out.
hey, intensity builds density. And it's like, are you know, time, like Mitch tells me, time under tension. You know what I mean? Like that focused pump
under
is way
tension.
better than
Yep.
unfocused lifting. Oh, come on.
let's
That
go.
focused pump is way better than the unfocused
Let's
lifting.
go.
Come on.
2, 3, go.
Said the smallest guy in this room.
Come on. He got that focused pump, baby.
Yeah.
Come on. That filthy pump, big dog.
Filthy pump, man. It's filthy. Gonna take 2 showers after this. Extra
Hey,
film.
Cal, Jeff, like, you know what? I really appreciate you hopping on last minute, Jeff.
Man,
and
thanks
like, you
for
know,
having
I
me.
think this is the way it was supposed to be. You know, it's, you know, the Lift Lab pod, we are here not only to talk about physically how you could be more fit, but mentally and even in your life, how to be lift you up and figure out how you could lift your life up. You know what I mean? And upgrade.
Yeah,
So,
thanks for tuning in, guys, and thanks to the audience for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I guess, hey, if you're interested in, you know, keeping up to date or following the talks and stuff.
Yeah.
We'll check out your channel, your Insta and
Yeah,
stuff.
Jeff, you want to
Put
shout
it-
out
maybe-
your
Yeah,
socials?
If you wanna connect with me, you can hit me up on Instagram at Jeff T Osborne, JEFF T as in Tom, OSBORNE, and JeffTosborne.com. The link is on there, and all my motivation every single day.
Yeah.
Coaching on my website, and I'm excited for some stuff we got coming up. So for sure, my books are on my website. 3 books:
I'm
By the
subscribed.
Dang Coffee, Prison Break, and God Morning. It's a declaration book. So let's get it.
I'll stay
Appreciate
in touch.
you guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks very much. And we'll see you on the next pod, on the next Lift Lab.